So what exactly does sustainability, or to be sustainable, actually mean when it comes to packaging for consumer goods? Is it about the carbon footprint? Is it about the energy consumed at manufacture? Is it about how the products are packaged, recycled and disposed of? Or is it a mixture of all of these? If you asked most consumers or even experts in the industry what it means to be sustainable, they'd be hard pressed to answer. The simple truth is, if you pin down a consumer on actual carbon data and overall carbon saved on one packaging format versus another, they would have no idea whether this was a significant or moderate improvement. I suppose this actually comes down to brands, especially manufacturers, to educate consumers and explain exactly what some of these figures mean in real terms, and also some of the trade-offs when it comes to trying to achieve them. This conundrum was brought to light recently when the curiosity got the better of me, and I decided to open one of those snazzy paper wine bottles. The truth I found out is that it's not strictly a paper bottle, but a clamshell covering a pouch. The pack consists of 4 separate components: a foil-lined bag, which is connected to different plastic lug, a carton outer and a metal lid. Whilst the card on the wrapper is recyclable, the foil pouch isn't. On top of that, the plastic lug that is adhered to the foil liner would take some doing to separate and recycle as a separate component. In fact, even the Incredible Hulk would have issues separating that foil bag from the plastic valve. I read with interest on the pack itself about the sustainability and reduced carbon footprint, but I have to say I'm not sure that I'm fully convinced because of the smorgasbord of multi-material gizmos that went into its construction. Is this really better than glass environmentally and from a waste point of view when you factor in the full life cycle from creation to disposal? Would reusing, say, glass in a circular economy not be much more efficient? Safe to say this post created quite a debate on LinkedIn, so I thought it worth expanding on some of the points raised in the conversation and doing it in a podcast. Firstly, is this option more sustainable than glass? There are a wide selection of experts, it has to be said, mainly those people involved in the manufacturing of these components, that are quite happy to quote a variety of carbon-based facts. But these tend to ignore the elephant in the room, which is the non-recyclable waste at the end of the process. I'm not going to go into all the facts and figures and details that were quoted in the post, you can see those for yourself, but the manufacturer states that there is less carbon created in its manufacture. Whether this includes the logistics of getting all the components into one place in a factory, the carbon involved in recycling the component, or whether that includes the breaking down of these components at the end of their life, remains to be seen. That part is not fully clear, and for me it's really important to see the full picture so you can make an informed choice. I'd love to see a life cycle from shipping of these base components through to manufacture till the end of life in terms of energy used and waste created compared to something like glass, for example. Secondly, circular economy. One of the best ways of resolving this would be to return to a circular economy. It's something that used to happen in the early 80s with carbonated drinks and soft drinks, and earlier than that with milk bottles. You ordered from the pop man, and a week later the van came round to pick up the empty bottles, then back it went into circulation. It's a great solution, but possibly relies on a couple of important factors. The first is standardization, so the same bottle could be used for lots of different applications. The second factor that somebody quoted on the post was, how would we solve the issue of wine bottles being sent over from, say, Australia and New Zealand over to the UK? It's not just as straightforward as gathering up all those bottles and shipping them back. In this instance, maybe shipping things over in another format and bottling in the country of distribution would work much better and be a better workaround. Third is recyclability. This is the key issue for me. There are lots of different components in this pack, some of which can be recycled, the card outer, for example, and some of which can't. The foil-lined bladder on its own can't be recycled, but this is compounded as it's adhered to a plastic lug made from a completely different substrate. Separation of those components is somewhat challenging. The result is that the compromise seems to be that whilst other bits can be recycled, only this part ends up in landfill. Is that actually a good compromise? I don't feel it is. In order to potentially solve one problem, you're creating another. This paper bottle isn't strictly a new innovation. It's not too dissimilar from the wine boxes, which had an outer carton box and an inner foil bladder, and they've been around for donkey's years. Fourth is PET bottles. The other proposed solution, which has merit, is changing the substrate completely. Part of the issue with glass is the weight when it comes to distribution and logistics, so an easy workaround is to use a PET bottle, as this is widely and easily recycled. One issue here possibly being a quality perception from the consumer. A cork in a glass solution will always be seen as conveying better quality credentials than a plastic bottle, for example. There are those who wave their arms around regards plastic being the root of all evil, but as I mentioned, it's widely recyclable and very lightweight solution, so global logistics are far less of a problem. Another advantage over using a substrate such as plastic is the ease in which it can be moulded into square shapes, so there's less shipping of dead space. But it's not all positive news from the plastic camp. A mere 15% of all plastic produced globally since the 1950s has been recycled or repurposed, leaving the vast majority accumulating in landfills or in the ocean. Additionally, Europe burns more plastic than it recycles. And when it comes to PET bottles, only around 61% was collected for recycling in 2020, while new bottles only consist of around 17% recycled plastic. Glass is the leader in recycling, with extensive collection systems that bring an 80.1% collection rate, 92% of collected glass being effectively recycled, and 91% of this recycled material being processed in a closed-loop glass recycling system. Fifth is aluminium bottles. Aluminium is also another good solution. Lots of different FMCG products are now borrowing pack structures more often seen in carbonated soft drinks because of the ease of recycling and the fact that it can stay in a circular economy pretty much forever. In fact, recycling aluminium uses almost 90% less energy than mining raw aluminium ore out of the ground. So, in conclusion, what does it mean to be sustainable? What role do brands and manufacturers have in communicating the full picture to consumers? I think the most important point to stress here is that there is a responsibility from brands and manufacturers alike to be honest and transparent, that's not a glass-based joke by the way, with consumers, and not try and bamboozle them with quoting carbon figures that mean absolutely nothing to the lay consumer. Being carbon neutral or reducing the carbon footprint shouldn't come at the expense of increasing the amount of non-recyclable waste. Companies need to be far clearer regarding sustainability. It's no good quoting various carbon-saving figures when even these don't capture the full picture. Many of these proposed solutions only provide further items for landfill or that will be discarded into the oceans. It's the packaging equivalent of kicking a can down the road and pretending that you've come up with some miraculous solution. Manufacturers and companies pitching products as more green have a responsibility to make sure the full life cycle is covered in any of the stats that they quote, from transportation of the raw materials to manufacturing, all the way through to the end-of-life disposal. So on the question of sustainability, the only question that I still have is the following: is this continual greenwashing sustainable? Well, that's it. That's a wrap, as they say. I hope you found it informative. If it adds value, then please do subscribe. I'm Al, owner and creative director of Slice Design. You can follow me on my LinkedIn page, which is linkedin.com/in/Alan Gilbody, or you can follow us on our company website, which is slicedesign.co.uk. So until next time, have a fantastic week and keep well.